All right, back on the Young Turks. All right, let me not tease you too much more. I've been dying to tell you anyway. Two important lessons I learned in D.C. By talking to some of the people who work on Capitol Hill. One is the power of the staff that the different senators and congressmen have and what their motivations are. We've talked about this a lot on the show, but it was really interesting to hear from actual staffers as to how these things work. Well, of course, the actual congressmen and senators don't write the legislation, right? Their staff does. So what their staff is going to do next makes an enormous amount of difference. If their staff is going to stay in Washington and they're going to make a career out of it, well, the way to make real money is to become a lobbyist. We've talked to you about this a lot in the past. And so I asked, do they keep that in mind? And is that something that's a serious consideration? Now, the person I was talking to is not one of the people who is going to become a lobbyist, but he said based on his experience and seeing the legislation they write and talking to the people that are actually working on Capitol Hill, the answer is absolutely yes. So he then gave me a stark example of the difference between staffers who plan to stay in Washington and become lobbyists and ones who don't. I was curious why Senator Franken's office is producing such good legislation. In fact, one of the few good parts of the financial reform package was Franken's amendment on the rating agencies and changing the incentives of the rating agencies. I was like, wow, that's fantastic. That's actually something that's very positive that's coming out of this. And I was thinking, man, thank God he won. Because if Norm Coleman had won that seat, you think we'd have fixed the incentives of the rating agencies? No. They would still be taking money from Wall Street and giving them nonsense, fluffed up ratings for the money, right? Now, hopefully, if this thing passes, that's going to get fixed to some degree. So now, why is Franken's staff doing such good work as opposed to other staff that seems to be just writing legislation that helps the banks? Because Franken hired young, idealistic staffers who are not going to become lobbyists. They're going to go back to doing whatever they do. And they might work in business, they might go back to law school, they might do whatever they're doing. But they don't plan to get higher paying jobs in D.C. on K Street afterwards. And that makes all the difference. Because then they're motivated to write legislation that actually helps the American people. That's a very powerful lesson. Okay, and that helps us because look, our long-term goal is to fix the system. So it's not just to complain about it, it's to figure out how to make it better so that our representatives actually represent us. Now, I don't have the answers today as to how you change that incentive structure. My first inclination is to say, great, you work on we love you, you're a great patriotic American. You don't get to work as a lobbyist for the next 5 years, 10 years. Oh no, I know it's terrible, I can't make a lot of money. Well, okay, then choose a different profession. If your plan was, hey, I'll work in Washington for a little bit pretending to represent the people, then I'll make a lot of money by selling the people out, and I've prevented you from doing that, well, I'm going to call that a win. I don't care how much you bellyache. That's my first inclination. Obviously, you got to talk that through, think that through with some smart people all across the country on the right and the left, and come with an idea of how do we clean up this politics. But at least having that knowledge helps us go down that road. So that was very important. And then, secondly, again, an anonymous source on the Hill told me about why the financial reform bill keeps, in a lot of instances, getting worse and worse. And they couldn't figure it out either. So they'd go and there was, I don't want to tell you the specific provision because I don't want to give away who it is, right? But they have a provision in the bill that seemed to be very pro-large banks. So they went and they asked the House side, hey, who put this in? And nobody knew who put it in. And they said, do you mind if we take it out? And they took it out. So then they're working on another version of the reform bill later as it gets amended, et cetera. And that provision is back in the bill. So wait a minute. How did that get back in the bill? They go and ask around. Nobody knows. They say, can we take it out? They say, yeah, sure, take it out. You're right. It doesn't make sense. It's too much in favor of the big banks. It discriminates against the state banks, okay? And it has no logical purpose other than to help the big bankers. So, okay, everybody agrees, great. Then it goes to the Senate side, and boom, it pops back up again. So now they go over to the Senate side. They're like, wait a minute now. How did that get back into the bill? And the person who's putting it together, the senator who's putting it together, goes, I honestly don't know, and I agree with you. That doesn't make any sense. I'll take it out. So they take it out. Whew, mission accomplished. So the next time the bill comes forward, can you guess what happens? It's back in the bill. Now, wait a minute. What the hell is going on here? So they go to investigate, why is this happening? And you know what they found out? The Treasury Department has asked the Federal Reserve, since they have so much more staff and they could churn out the work more, right? They have 4 or 5 times as much staff as the financial committees in the House or the Senate. So the Treasury has asked the Fed, hey, why don't you write every new draft? Every time there's a significant change in the bill, well, somebody's got to actually physically write out the draft. Well, not write it out, but type it out, right? And present it. So every time there was a new version, it'd go back to the Fed, and the Fed would say, yeah, okay, we're putting that back in. Because I don't know if you know this, the Fed is the big banks, okay? I mean, they're a quasi-governmental organization. They're supposed to be kind of regulating the banks, but they're also supposed to be representing the banks. So every time there was a new bill, the Fed would put the pro-big bank legislation right back in. And so they figured it out. Now, look, as I told you before, it's who writes the bills that's the most important. So if the Fed has that kind of power, and they're the ones that are theoretically writing the reform bill, of course they're not going to reform anything. They're on the side of the big banks. All those pro-big bank amendments and pieces of the legislation will always pop back up. And then in the end, one of the principal points of this financial reform is that don't worry, we've got real reform here, because at the end of the day, the Fed will regulate the big banks if this bill passes. Okay, now do you see what kind of joke that is? They're not going to regulate them. That's not what they do. They're going to help them. And they're going to help them with their robbery. And that's why we keep losing. It's the people that are in power that are paid a lot of money to keep that power and to keep that establishment exactly as it is that are writing the legislation. So two very important stories coming out of Washington. And on those alone, I'm really glad I went. All right, you know what? Let's take another quick break here, and then when we come back, hopefully our protest video, I have election results, so let's come back and talk to you in a second. Back on the Young Turks, I am your host, Cenk Uygur. Dave Kohler is producing today. Andrew Napier is directing. All right, now, I believe we had some fairly important elections in Arkansas and in California, and throughout the country, Nevada as well, and some very surprising results. First, let's start with Arkansas. I think that was the most important race because we had a real progressive challenge to establishment candidate, Democratic candidate Blanche Lincoln in Arkansas. And it appeared that Blanche Lincoln was in some serious trouble and that Bill Holter looked like he might be winning that race. And people were very excited, and a lot of people started to take credit for Holter's victory before it even happened. And that's because they worked really hard in pushing him into the race, supporting him in the race, and it looked like momentum was on their side. As it turned out, schwang, wang, wang. And Bill Holter lost, and Blanche Lincoln won. So now what's interesting is what happened right afterwards. Because the press went and talked to the White House. Now, the White House was supporting Blanche Lincoln. The unions backed Bill Holter here because Blanche Lincoln wasn't voting their way. So they figured, what do we have to lose? She won't vote for us anyway, right? It makes a lot of sense. Well, here's what one anonymous source said. Organized labor just flushed $10 million of their members' money down the toilet on a pointless exercise. They told Politico's Ben Smith this. If even half of that total had been well targeted and applied in key House races across the country, that could have made a real difference in November. It is inconceivable that Rahm Emanuel did not make that statement. Okay, the only conceivable person who could have made that statement that isn't Rahm is someone who works under Rahm Emanuel because it sounds exactly like him, right? And I say, I hope you enjoyed flushing your toilet. You should be helping us in tight races, okay? No, but look, the unions don't work for you. as they explained in that race, and as they're going to continue to explain to you. If you don't do anything for them, did they get card check? No, right? That was their number one issue, to grow the unions. Okay, now my view on that is, doesn't matter. I get that no matter what my view on it is, that if you don't give somebody the thing that they want, well, they're not going to give you what you want, which is money to help your establishment candidates that keep voting against them. But that's the tip of the iceberg. On health care, they got screwed in 18 different ways. They didn't want an excise tax. The administration sided with the Republicans in giving them an excise tax. They wanted a public option. The administration laughed at them, didn't give them the public option. And the list goes on and on and on. So here's another administration source also rubbing it in, saying, quote, labor is humiliated. $10 million flush down the toilet at a time when Democrats across the country are fighting for their lives. They look like absolute idiots. No, they don't. Look, did it hurt for them to lose that race? Absolutely, right? And it stings when you spend a lot of money on something and that candidate doesn't win, right? And especially when it looked like they were going to win. But it wasn't, in my opinion, it was not flushed down the toilet. They worked for a guy who was going to vote with them. They worked against somebody who votes against them. It's the most logical thing I've ever seen in my life. So, and the reason that the Democrats and the establishment and the White House are mad is because they're like, no, I get to take your money and screw you every single day. And that's the way it works. I'm a Democrat, right? And, well, sorry, they're not going to play that game anymore. And I agree with them that they shouldn't. AFL-CIO spokesman, and that's the largest labor union, Eddie Vail said this, and these are some strong quotes. We are not an arm of the White House or the DNC or any political party. We work on issues. And if we feel like someone is standing up for working families, we support them. If they don't, we won't support it. In the past, people have assumed that was talk, but now we've backed that up with action. Because before, in the past, all they did was support Democrats no matter what. They had to send a message, look, you don't get this money for free. And look, if a Democrat stands up to the unions when they're wrong and doesn't do what they're doing, what they ask them to do, in a lot of ways I can applaud that. You just can't be surprised that they then don't support you, right? And you beat them up over it and call them idiots. And that's not going to help your cause. Now, Eddie Vail continues, is the lesson that they are talking about taking out of tonight, that they can go after labor and anonymously trash us and we'll put our tail between our legs and slink home? That ain't happening. Here's my favorite part now. My name is Eddie Vail of the AFL-CIO, and I'm proud to fight for working families, and I don't hide behind anonymous quotes. Okay, I like that attitude, man. And if somebody doesn't teach the Democratic Party a lesson that you can't keep screwing over progressives, you can't keep screwing over people who voted for you, you can't keep screwing over people who worked for you. Because labor doesn't just give money. They get out the vote, and they work really hard to get out that vote, right? And for me, it's not about labor, because they're not my uncle, right? For me, it's about, hey, are you ever going to do something you promised, right? Are you ever going to actually fight for progressive positions? Or is labor right that you're just going to, as soon as you get in, go, ha, we used you and abused you, and we're never going to do anything we said, and you don't have any other choice. What are you going to do, vote for the lunatic Republicans? The fact that they took a stand on this is definitely a good thing. The fact that the White House spit in their eye is stupid, ridiculous, and petulant, okay? And between the union and the White House, I can't believe it, but I'm in favor of the unions. And we've come a long way or back, or we've gone backwards. I don't know. When asked about this, Robert Gibbs walked back the statement only a little bit. He said, I don't think that the president would necessarily agree with that characterization made by somebody here, meaning the flushing down the toilet and the unions are idiots. He says, but I think we would certainly agree that we are likely to have very close elections in many, many places throughout the country in November. And while the president may not have agreed with the exact characterization, I think that whether or not that money might have been better spent in the fall on closer elections between people who cared about an agenda that benefited working families and those that didn't, that money might come in more handy then. Look, again, the White House doesn't get it. And they just had a meeting today, and the unions walked out, and literally, exact quote, they said they still don't get it. They think that the unions just work for the Democratic Party, and their job is to get Democrats elected no matter how they vote. They're like, why do you think that's our job? That's not our job. We want to grow the unions, and card check would help us do that. if you don't vote for it, and public option allows us to pay our bills, okay? And if you don't vote for that, why do you think I'm going to keep voting for you? How are you helping working families? What are you doing? Right now, you know what they're in the middle of? The debate of should we concentrate more on jobs or more on the deficit commission? And now the unions say, of course concentrate more on jobs. We've got so many people out of work here. Are you crazy? What is this deficit commission? Is some idea by right-winger Pete Peterson to cut Social Security and Medicare. It's not even close. So what does the White House say? Deficit commission. That's their higher priority. And then they're surprised that labor won't work for them. And they say, oh, no, that money could have been better spent helping us get elected so we can vote against you. No, wouldn't have. It would have been terribly spent. I love that the AFL-CIO took a stand. They lost, but hell, it's a hell of a lot better to try. Now, some people are, look, but you got to keep it real, too. Some people are trying to spin this like, oh, no, it's actually a good thing. We showed them we can fight, which I agree with. And the positive side of this, look, the bottom line is, it looked like you were going to win and you lost, and that sucks. When I saw the results, I was like, oh, that's semi-devastating. You know, so many people worked so hard on that, and it looked like we were going to take out an establishment person, and we didn't. And so, you know, it's very, very frustrating. Almost all the establishment candidates won on Tuesday. Fiorina, you know, much better financed, much more establishment, running for the Senate on the Republican side in California. She wins. Meg Whitman, same thing. Crushing Poizner, who was supposed to be the populist candidate, Republican more conservative candidate, etc. So the Tea Party guys can't be happy about those results. But it was more mixed for the Tea Party because Nikki Haley from South Carolina, who Sarah Palin and the Tea Party supports, won. She crushed her other opponents, perhaps because, again, like Obama, she had wonderful enemies. Her enemies were so crazy. One of them called her a raghead, somebody who wasn't in the race but supported someone who was. Others insinuated that she had sexual affairs that have nothing to do with anything. So maybe maybe that wound up helping her. And then in Nevada, a Tea Party person won. We're going to get to her in a second. Her name is Sharon Angle, and she's a little nutty. So be careful what you get when you get a right-winger to win like that. But overall, they split more than the progressives did, honestly. And so you got to be reeling a little bit from that, man. I mean, I looked at those results and I thought, Jesus, how the hell are we ever going to beat this establishment? They are juggernauts. And I think the reality is, of course, as we all know from this program, and the fight we've had in getting this program established, et cetera, is, look, you can't let failure or a roadblock stop you. Okay, so we worked really hard here and we lost. You got to get back up and keep doing it again. Because if you give up, that's the only thing that could possibly stop you. So you lose 52-48. And you know what happens next time? You win 52-48. And sometimes you lose things that you thought you were going to win. And sometimes you win things you thought you were going to lose, and everybody thought you were going to lose. So you just got to keep on fighting here. And I love, the most important thing is that somebody took a stand. From there, as long as people are willing to take a stand, believe me, in the long run, we will definitely win. And it also goes to show you that the establishment isn't going to get knocked over that easily. There's a reason why incumbency had such a strong advantage for all these years, and still does. They have name recognition, they have money, they have everything behind them, right? So it turns out you can really give them a run for their money, but it's not easy, and don't make any assumptions. All right, in the next segment, we're going to have Jim Dean, the head of Democracy for America, come on and talk to us about why he thinks that wound up being a loss, even though they worked hard on it. Now, a little bit more on that AFL-CIO White House meeting from today. They said that there were no formal apologies made by the White House. Only one of the spokespeople said to the AFL-CIO, or one of the representatives said that the comment was poorly made. Big deal, right? That's not much of anything. And the labor guys pushed the administration representatives on their continued insistence on elevating deficit reduction over job creation, and apparently the White House did not budge on that. They said, no, deficit commission it is. Good luck with that. No, in fact, have terrible luck with that. I think it's a bad idea. Now, Again, here, quick note here. My personal thoughts is that I'm a little dubious about spending more stimulus money to create jobs. I'm very worried about the deficit, right? So if I was the decision maker, and I know from Bush that the president's job is, if he had a title, it would be a decision maker. If I was a decision maker, I'd say, hey, look, I got to really look at the facts hard here on if more stimulus spending will create more jobs. And I got to do something about this deficit, right? Now, so I wouldn't necessarily take Labor's side. But one, I wouldn't be dismissive of them. They have a very legitimate point. And two, that deficit commission is a joke, man. It's a Trojan horse. We know the people who put it together. That deficit commission is not going to come out and say, hey, you know what? You're right. We should really cut military spending. No, they're going to. It's their last shot at getting the last piece of money out of you, the middle class and the poor. They want to. The last bag of goodies is Social Security and Medicare, and they're coming to rob it. And the fact that Obama appears to be on their side is so maddening, so frustrating. And then these people in D.C. have no idea why we're angry. I go, well, you already got the Obama elected. What more do you want? A hell of a lot more. Okay, listen. I'm going to tell you one more story here, okay? Or is Jim Dean on? Is that him? Yeah, okay. Hold on. So we got to take a quick break here. I want to tell you an unbelievable D.C. story, and we want to talk to Jim Dean as soon as we come back about this loss in Arkansas. Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. We still have the powerful Lady Gaga video that we're going to get to in a little bit, and Salma Hayek flips the fuck out. Okay, so all that coming up in a second.
Mm-hmm. All right, but we're going to start with gamers. Mm-hmm. There was a study done in the UK about gamers to see how playing video games all day affects their health, okay? And the findings of the study indicate that gamers have the reaction of fighter pilots. However, they have the physical health of 60-year-olds chain smokers, 60-year-old chain smokers.
All right. First off, I think that although that seems like a fairly significant insult, that gamers will actually be ecstatic about that.
You think so?
Yeah, because they're like, oh, we have the nerves and the reaction skills of a fighter pilot. And they already know their fat ass is sitting on the couch. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, to them, I like, what, do they know? Do they have a six-pack or they don't have a six-pack, right? Are they in shape or they're not in shape? They know, right? Like, what they're going to feel great about is, see, I knew it. I could be a fighter pilot if it was just a jet instead of my, Nintendo.
Right. The study quotes that they have emotional states that were comparable to those of athletes. So, athletes are known to be a lot less stressed because the physical activity keeps their stress levels down. And it turns out that playing video games does the exact same thing.
And it has a lot to do with competition, actually, okay? And if you win, athletes get a significant high from winning, and so do gamers. Again, I think gamers are going to feel like, yeah, not bad. I'll take it. 2 out of 3. Mm-hmm. Okay, I feel like an athlete. I have the reaction skills of a fighter pilot. All right, fine, I'm a fat-ass 60-year-old chain smoker, whatever. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I don't think it's going to be as bad as people think it is.
Well, you can get the best of both worlds if you spend a little time exercising in addition to playing video games.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's a genius idea. All right, look, I don't want people to get carried away. Are all gamers have terrible bodies, 60-year-old fat ass on the couch now? Of course not. Of course not, right? Our gaming expert is Wes Clark, and he's in excellent physical shape.
He is in excellent physical shape.
Okay, of course, but they're doing a study, and that makes, that looks at the overall group. So when you look at the overall group and you come out with these results, hey, some of the upsides are not that bad, but you know what? You might not be such a bad idea to take a couple of laps around the track. Just put some thought behind it, or to shoot an actual basketball.
By the way, I hate talking about studies and not mentioning who did it. So Dr. Dominic Micklewright did this study, and this person is from the University of Essex.
Well, then it's obviously right, because it's from Great Britain. Hear their accents? They sound very intellectual. So obviously this is true. Okay, all right. That's your gamer update.
All right. Lady Gaga's latest music video for the song Alejandro came out a couple days ago, and everyone's talking about it. And even Katy Perry took to her Twitter account to tweet about her thoughts about the music video. So let me explain what the music video features a little bit, so you'll explain Katy Perry's tweet. In Alejandro, Lady Gaga is dressed in a latex nun's habit, sucking on rosary beads, and she's at the center of a gay orgy dressed in a crucifix emblazoned robe with a cross over her crotch. So, yeah, I mean, it's controversial, whatever. It's Lady Gaga. You should expect it. So Katy Perry saw it, and then she had to share her thoughts with the world. She says, using blasphemy as entertainment is as cheap as a comedian telling a fart joke.
Yeah, not buying it. Okay.
I love how she's talking about being cheap.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Go back to that last picture. Is that not cream shooting out of her tits? Okay,
No. But Lady Gaga is cheap. Not Katy Perry. She's classy as can be. Come on.
Go. Okay, look. If you ask me, the whole, we're going to be risque by taking on religion and putting a cross on our crotch, it's not really that risque. It's been done a million times. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I don't really care. I don't think it's a big deal.
You're indifferent.
Yeah, but for Katy Perry to feel like, to be indignant over it, that's absurd.
No, can I just say something really quick about Lady Gaga and other female performers? Look, Christina Aguilera has been going to the press talking so much crap about Lady Gaga, right? And now Katy Perry is doing it. What I think is there's a lot of haterade going on. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's two possibilities. Mm-hmm. Definitely, Anna's theory is 100% possible. So one theory is just better man, right? I mean, they're like, why is everybody looking at Lady Gaga? Look at my shooting breasts. What's wrong? Come on. So I'll put it across somewhere else. Okay, did you think about that? Right? They're trying to grab some attention, some spotlight, and they're milking Lady Gaga's spotlight for their own, but they can't help feeling bitter about it. The second theory is, no, it's all a fraud. Like, they all know it. They're fake criticizing her, and everybody gets hype out of it. Lady Gaga gets more hype out of it. Katy Perry, Christina Aguilera, they all get hype out of it. I don't know the entertainment field that well that I would know. I'd be able to tell you which of the two is true. But I don't know. What do you think out of those two?
I think that's a possibility, but I really think it's option number one more than anything. It's just even before Lady Gaga became big, like Christina Aguilera was just talking mad shit. Like, because this is what happened. Lady Gaga has always had this crazy style, right? And all of a sudden, Christina Aguilera started performing wearing very similar costumes, right?
Uh-oh.
So then a reporter asked Christina Aguilera about it, and she was just mortified. She was pissed. And I think that's always been something that's been under her skin. Like, oh, shoot, they figured out that I was copying this less popular singer. And then all of a sudden, Lady Gaga blows up, and then she becomes even more bitter. And then Katy Perry, who the hell's Katy Perry? Like, she kissed a girl, she liked it, it's over, she's done.
Oh, no! By the way, you were defending her the other day. Okay.
I was, because I think she's beautiful. Look, I like Katy Perry. Like,
oh, remember she was #1 hottest?
Yeah.
Oh, hell no.
That's why
no.
That is why I was defending her, because I do believe she's #1 hottest. I think she's beautiful, right? But as soon as she starts, doing catty moves like this and talking crap about another female artist, it's dumb, because look at the pot calling the kettle black, please.
Yeah.
You are not classy, okay?
Saucer of milk, party of two. Right? It's super obvious, and I have a conclusion. And by the way, don't get me wrong, Katy Perry's not ugly, right? But she ain't #1 hottest girl in the world. Not even close. Not within miles.
By the way, iJustine is on that list of top 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, they just do it based on hype. It's nonsense, okay? She didn't even make my top 10 on YouTube.
Right, which I was amazed by that.
Okay, I've seen her in person. She's not bad looking. Again, good looking girl, okay? She's not top 10 on YouTube, but she's got a lot of hype. But that's how the world works. It's okay. All right, I have a conclusion.
Okay.
It's both, okay? They are bitter at her, and they can't help themselves, but they also secretly know, hey, you know what? This will get a lot of press coverage, and that ain't a bad thing, right? So that's why there's a lot of haterade going on for Lady Gaga.
Right.
Okay.
Now, can we watch the video? And after we watch the video, I want to give you Lady Gaga's quote on her work and why she decided to do this video.
All right, hold on. So, new video out on from Lady Gaga, much anticipated. It's Alejandro. Okay. Now, we're going to show you a short clip from it. The whole thing is gigantically long.
It's a short film.
Yeah, and there's a lot of gay dudes walking around in a lot of outfits and looking questionable. You know, they got those weird haircuts you're about to see in a second. There's a lot of sexual poses, which are questionable in a good way. But we're just going to give you the essence of it here because this has the controversial parts. Then we'll come back and talk about the controversy. Uh-oh. So, go. All right, now, I've got so much to say. First, on the controversies, right?
Okay.
You got the cross on the crotch. She's blowing the rosary beads. There's dance moves like this. Like, I wonder what's happening there, right? And then she's in the latex nun outfit. Don't give a damn about any of it. I mean, I saw this in the 1980s, okay? Right. I'm from the old school. So, and if you're trying to rile up controversy that way, I mean, you're going to have to do better than that, okay? So I don't care about the so-called controversy, and that's nuts. But then she threw me for a loop, man, and she's fun. Look, you know I got issues with her outfits because I think they're so crazy, but I'm having nothing but fun with her now.
Right.
So like I'm totally in her camp. She's won me over. Look, you watch that video. At first, like she's got that sexy outfit on, right? And I'm digging that outfit, and I'm like, oh, I'm very interested. And then they're like, oh, shit, then they're grabbing her, and they're like, oh, then they're going out, you know. And I'm like, okay. Get out and play. But then she throws in the guys wearing the same outfit in the high heels and stuff. I'm like, wait, who's the guy? Who's the girl? And then she's from me. I'm like, no, wait, not interested. Interested, not interested. And I'm going up and down. I'm like, what's going on here? And none of it makes, I watched the whole thing, none of it makes any sense.
Yeah. No. The lyrics don't make any sense. The actual music, the melody behind it is like an old Ace of Base song. Don't turn around.
Oh, totally. 100%. Okay. So it's all artificial. It's all nonsense, right? But at the end, I'm left with two things, right? Well, one is an oscillating penis. But anyway, okay, no, outside of that, one is, you know what? These some of my bitches, I don't know what they're up to, but they're having fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? I mean, I'm picturing on their off time, these people are doing so much cocaine, you can't begin to tell, okay? But they're having crazy sex. Like, at some party, they don't know who's having sex with who, right? And they're like, was that a guy? Was that a girl? Who was that? Where are the rosaries? I don't know, because I did too much coke, right? And I wouldn't do it, but I love them for doing it. Have some fun. It's, you know, responsible, la, 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 but have fun. I don't care. I'm on that boat. And then finally, what I'm left with is, Alejandro. I was like, I kind of like that beat because Because I'm weak sauce, because I'm lame. I like lame music, right? So I'm going out going, Ali Alejandro.
What's funny is I caught that dance move too. I'm like, I wonder if anyone else caught that. And of course you did.
Of course.
All right, so we think it's all fun, it's all games, we're having a good time, right? Well, Lady Gaga takes this song very seriously.
Oh, of course.
Okay,
of
so
course.
I want to read you her quote. So Gaga describes the video as a celebration of my love and appreciation for the gay community, my admiration of their bravery, their love for one another, and their courage in their relationships. In the video, I'm pining for the love of my gay friends, but they just don't want to be with me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you watch the whole thing, there's some chance you can get that out of it. But then, if they didn't want to be with you, why were they fucking you and you were fucking them? And I didn't understand what was happening there. And people were sick of things in different places.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Alejandro, Fernando, I don't know why that switch happened, like in the middle of the song. Okay, nobody knows what's happening. They don't know what they mean. They just want to put like flashy stuff in there and have you get confused and turned on and like weirded out and angry and. So mission accomplished. Nothing wrong with that. Look, that's good pop entertainment. Okay?
Right. By the way,
it's supposed to do all those things.
Is it safe to say that Lady Gaga brought music videos back? Like who's been excited about music videos until Lady Gaga finally came around? Like the last time music videos were cool were in the mid-90s.
No, that is an excellent point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, video. When's the last video I watched before Lady Gaga? I literally can't remember. And now I've watched like 2 or 3 of her videos. Mm-hmm. None of them have made any sense, but who cares? They don't have to, right? She's got a phone on her head. She's got a gay guy behind her. She's got a gay guy in front of her. She's got a crotch up her ass. Whatever, okay? I mean, across. Okay, whatever, right? But either way, she's having fun. I think that everybody else is having fun. And, you know, all the Katy Perrys and the Christina Aguileras, oh, they're so bitter. They're so bitter. Why isn't anybody watching my music video? You know what I can do with a cross? Yeah, no, let it go. Let it go. Yeah. No, this show is totally flipped. Okay, it's gone from anti-Lady Gaga with the crazy psycho killer outfits to totally pro-Lady Gaga. You know why? Because I'm the most open-minded man in America. All right. That open-minded man returns when we come back.